everybody, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Shay, and this is Creepy Critiques. It has been a minute since you guys have seen my face. That is because I was away visiting some family, and I didn't have anything planned for content. I actually did have something planned, but the plan went awry, and when I came back, I decided I was going to record that video, and then I went to see another movie. And so that kind of derailed the whole plan. So we will get to that video. I keep saying that every single video that we're going to get to this Halloween Horror Nights video, but we will get to that Halloween Horror Nights video. I promise you. I have it all queued up to work on, but I also have a lot of things I need to work on before that because there was supposed to be a does this deserve to be a classics video, and I am working on that. And then there might be a couple more movie reviews because I may be going to see a certain movie that I've been looking forward to since January of this year, this weekend. So yay. But yes, on my channel, if this is the first time you're seeing me, hi, hello, I'm Shay. If this is the first time that you're seeing me, hi, hello, my name is Shay. Like I said in the beginning of this video, if you like videos where people talk about movies, theme parks, spooky stuff, I got the spooks back there. I got a new spook actually. That's new. This is new. Um, if you like stuff like that, consider subscribing, consider liking, consider leaving a comment. And if you have seen this movie, leave a comment and let me know what you thought about it because your opinions might be different than mine, or you might share the same opinions. So let's get into this. This was a little bit of a surprise detour on our main quest for this channel, but a good detour, a detour I'm excited about. Now, I am not going. Let me explain a little bit about how my movie reviews usually go because I don't really do a lot of these, and I'm sorry if I keep moving the hair out of my face. The bangs on this wig are awful. There's they're so awful. But yeah, I don't usually do a lot of movie reviews for movies that just came out because I don't make it to the theater very often, but I got really lucky with this one and happened to make it to the theater to see this one, and I'm glad I did because I don't know if I would have like had the same experience seeing this at home that I would have in the theater. So I'm excited to talk about this movie. And that is A Quiet Place Day One. Yay, you saw the title already. You saw the title already. If you didn't see the title, didn't see the thumbnail, okay. So usually how I do these is I'll give you like a little synopsis of the movie, like little rundown of like where you can watch it, who's in it, and then also um like just like the overview, and then I'll give you like what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. And in this case for this movie, because it is brand spanking new, I am going to have an entire section that is going to be what I call the spoiler review, which means if you haven't seen this movie yet, which I highly recommend just like going to see it because you'll hear my opinions on this later, but it is a good movie. Highly recommend going to see it. Get your butt to the theater, see it, and come back and watch the spoiler section because there are a few things I want to talk about that I don't want to ruin for other people. I want people to have their own experience watching this. So yeah, there's gonna be a whole section that's just gonna be spoilers, and then at the end I will give you my rating where I put this movie. So yeah, I'm excited to talk about this film, and hopefully you guys are excited as well. So let's get right into it. So, of course, today we are talking about A Quiet Place Day One. Now, if you do not know what A Quiet Place is, let me give you a little bit of a rundown. This franchise started back in 2018. It was created by John Krasinski. Yes, that John Krasinski, if you're somehow living under a rock and you missed this series entirely, the one from The Office, Jim from The Office, he made this series basically about an alien invasion where the aliens are triggered by sound. And so the entire world, whoever has survived this invasion has to just shut up. Like just be quiet. Don't make any noise. Don't like step like basically just don't do anything. Don't do normal things. Like everything that's in my room right now would trigger those things. I would be gone. Um, there were two movies before this, A Quiet Place and then A Quiet Place Part 2, that followed a family that was dealing with the aftermath of this alien invasion. I actually remember seeing the first Quiet Place movie in theaters back in 2018, and it was an experience. I don't think I've ever even with this movie, I don't think I've ever been in a theater that was that quiet. Like, this movie, I ain't gonna lie, there were some people when I went to go see it that were laughing at one part, which I thought was, I mean, like, it was a cute part, but it also was like, "Why are you laughing? This is actually kind of, like, messed up and sad." But, there were a few people who were laughing, and then there was a lot of people who were crinkling, and but there was more noise in this one. There was a lot more noise in this one than that one. The original one was very quiet, very quiet, left you alone with your own thoughts. The second one I didn't see until either 2022 or 2023. I believe it came out in 2021. And that's just the continuation of that family story, the aftermath of their home getting destroyed and everything like that. Spoiler alert, I guess, if you've never seen any of these movies, their home gets destroyed in the first one. And it's just like a continuation of that story from the first movie. This one, however, is like an entirely different take on the film, and it actually takes place in New York City because, of course, everybody likes to blow up big buildings. I mean, come on. And it actually focuses on two completely different characters who have nothing to do with the franchise, which isn't really a bad thing. Isn't It is not really a bad thing. I will say at first I was a little bit skeptical because not that I'm a huge fan of this franchise. I don't hate this franchise. I do enjoy the first movie a lot for what it is, and the second movie I was kind of like about. Um, but it is a good concept. It is really well executed. I remember really liking the first movie when I saw it in theaters. I remember it did get to me a couple of times because it's so quiet and it's so tense. So I did enjoy that. But and I did like the family from the first one, the original ones to an extent. So when I heard that they were like shifting gears to different characters, I was kind of like, "Ooh, that's an interesting like thing to do." Like just introduce these two random characters that kind of have nothing to do with the storyline. They're not characters that we're even seeing in the second movie that like they stumble upon where it's like, okay, this is their origin story. Like, no, this is just like two random people. But we'll get to it. But they did pick two of, in my opinion, two of the best actors that they could pick for this role. So, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Um, so that's kind of like the synopsis basically. The aliens are called Death Angels. I'll put a picture of them on the screen if you've never seen them before. They're really creepy looking. They remind me of spiders, but also like rock monsters. I don't know. There's like a lot happening there. But in any case, the movie was incredibly popular, incredibly well received to the point that now it's spawned a franchise. There's a video game coming. Obviously, I've mentioned this before in a couple of my other videos, but we are getting a Quiet Place Haunted House. It's based off of the first two movies. Day one has nothing to do with the haunted house, just to let you guys know. So like we are getting a haunted house. This is really growing to be like a massive franchise, which is kind of weird to me because to me this seemed like a one and done. Like the first movie was great. That's a great concept. How can you continue to replicate this success? I'm eating my words, I guess. I'm eating my words. But I really, really liked this movie, and we're gonna get into the semantics behind this movie to explain why I like this movie so much. So it released on 6/28 and it's currently in theaters. I did see somewhere that it's probably going to be available for purchase on streaming soon because we ball. Like I guess that's the way we roll. I did see somewhere. I don't know how true that is. I don't know how the truth is. If it is going to be available for streaming soon, like I will be purchasing it so I could watch it again because I really like this movie. I do own the first one too, and I've seen that a couple of times. So I really like this movie. It was directed by Michael Sarnowski, and it stars Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn and Alex Wolff. Which, by the way, Alex Wolff, man, it's so crazy to me. Like, I just have to wax poetic about Alex Wolff for like 5 seconds because I grew up like I was kind of at the tail end of when he started appearing on Nickelodeon because he was in a show called Naked Brothers Band with his brother. And I think it's so crazy that he's kind of becoming like a really big horror actor. And I love it. I love to see it. I was actually talking about this with my friend who I went to go see A Quiet Place with, that he absolutely, everyone always talks about how Tony Collette deserved an Oscar for Hereditary. Alex Wolff also deserved an Oscar for Hereditary. Considering the fact that he sacrificed his sanity for that movie, he absolutely deserved it. I mean, his face in the scene, if you've seen the movie, you know that his face in the scene, like, still gives me chills. Like, this guy's an amazing actor. But yes. Anyways, there's more people in this movie, but it's mostly Lupita and Joseph. Let's just be honest. It's mostly them two, and a cat named Frodo. Well, it's not his name's not actually Frodo. There's 2 cats. I can't remember what the other cat's name is, but I know one of them is Schnitzel, but the cat's name is Frodo. That's the other star of the movie, so right now, it has a 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb and an 87% on Rotten Tomatoes. I have seen very mixed reviews on this movie. In fact, that was kind of one of the reasons I was nervous to see it, because I was very excited to see this movie because just gonna say it right off the top, I really love Lupita Nyong'o. Like, she's one of my favorite actresses of all time, and the second I heard she was gonna be in this movie, I was like, "Fine, I'll go see it." It's kinda one of those things where it's like, "Ah, you got me." I wasn't really excited about this one, and then you told me she was in it. Absolutely love her, think she's a fantastic actress, and, yeah, I was nervous that this wasn't gonna do well, but I mean, I've heard mixed reviews, but most people I've spoken to really like this movie, so I go by the people I speak to. So the synopsis for this movie is: when New York City comes under attack from an alien invasion, a woman and other survivors try to find a way to safety. They soon learn that they must remain absolutely silent as the mysterious creatures are drawn to the slightest sound. Obviously. Obviously. All right. So I'm going to kind of break this up into 3 sections. I'm going to start with the things I liked about it, going to go on to things I didn't, which I don't have like a ton of stuff there. And then I'm gonna kind of talk about some points that are spoilery, so it'll be like the spoiler section. So again, I'll timestamp that. You'll be able to skip it if you want to, or you can watch it if you don't care about spoilers, because yeah. I know me, I would probably be watching it. All right. So the things I liked about this movie. So first of all, let me just get this out of the way. This movie is incredibly emotional. It's not really a spoiler. It's not really a spoiler, but Lupita Nyong'o's character Sam, at the start of the movie, is basically terminal. She has terminal cancer, and it's very sad for me personally, because right before I went to go see this movie, I read an interview with Lupita about the role, and they asked her how it felt taking a role playing a cancer patient after Chadwick Boseman's passing. And if you guys aren't familiar, she was in the Black Panther movie with Chadwick Boseman, and Chadwick Boseman passed away in 2020 because of cancer. It was a very like quiet battle, and pretty much nobody knew that he had cancer. And it really stunned a lot of movie fans, especially like me. I don't really get upset about celebrity deaths. That one hit me very, very hard. That one was like gut wrenching. I couldn't deal with it. And I read in the interview that she said that she basically, like, it was a way, as a like almost like a sort of heal, like it almost sort of healed her. Like it helped, not healed her, but it was helping like the healing of losing somebody that she was that close to, somebody that she loved that much. Um, and when I saw the movie and I sat down, like as soon as it started and she was like changing her like patch and stuff like that, and just looking at how sickly she looked, like, it broke my heart. It genuinely broke my heart. I was like, I feel like I'm watching Wakanda Forever all over again. And it sounds kind of stupid to say, but it really did feel like I was watching Wakanda Forever, where like I almost started crying just right off the bat, because that was the first thing that popped into my head was, oh my god. Like it's even seeping over into my horror universe. So I it was very emotional. There were a lot of heavy, there was the whole like that being like a driving factor for Sam's character, like, just is so like gut wrenching, like, throughout the entire movie, because it's just really sad to like be sick like that and then have to deal with, I'm gonna put it on the screen again. Like, deal with that? You gotta deal with that again? No, I can't imagine. And it was very emotional. Uh, of course, like I said, fantastic acting. Would not expect anything less from Lupita, because she's a queen. But also, I have to talk about Joseph Quinn a little bit, because I obviously have seen Stranger Things. I obviously have seen Stranger Things. I have never doubted this man's prowess as an actor. A lot of people have been very critical of his casting in Fantastic Four because they think he's not good enough. And I'm like, he has very expressive eyes, and that worked really well for this movie. And also, him and Lupita played off each other really, really well in this film. Like, they played off of each other really, really well. Um, it was very interesting to see that dynamic, because his character, Eric, is very, very skittish, very, very at several points in the movie, he's just like having panic attacks, and I'm like, this is not the time. This is not the time. But at the same time, also like same, I would be doing the same thing. I'd be having a panic attack too. Like I think I'd just lay down and let them do it. Um, he's clearly not equipped to survive in this world, and he's very, very scared. And it just worked really well. Like his character was beyond lovable for the I won't say the short amount of time, but it does feel like it's short because like he doesn't come into like mid movie pretty much. Like you pretty much go through this entire journey with Sam, and then all of a sudden, oh, here's Eric. Like, oh, by the way, that guy too. Yeah. Remember him? He's also on the poster. Yeah, he's here too. He's, he plays a very like skittish character, and he does a very good job of that as well. And you kind of see a little bit of growth throughout the movie, and there are some really emotionally like sweet scenes between him and Sam, because I think the realization is like, yeah, she's really sick, she's probably not going to make it. Like that's the realization, because like she's got cancer, like how much further can she go? It's really just a very like very sweet dynamic. Those two played off of each other very well. They got to, in my opinion, they got two of the most perfect people to play in this type of story, because the whole overarching story relies on not saying much. And unlike the previous two movies, they're not using ASL because this happens so suddenly. It's not like they are like, oh yeah, good thing I know ASL. Like it's just like on hand. So I actually kind of liked that dynamic too. I just realized that I like that dynamic as well, because as cool as it is to see, and listen, no disrespect, the representation is perfect. I'm glad that they made a horror movie that offered that representation to people who use sign language and things like that. I'm glad that they offered that representation, but it is interesting to see it from an angle where like these people have no idea what's going on. They're just kind of thrown into the fray, and obviously they're not going to have ASL just like on hand ready to go. Like, yeah, okay, good thing I know ASL, I can communicate with you. It's interesting to see it from that angle, that they had to communicate with mostly looks and gestures. So that's why I said like Lupita and Joseph were like two of the most perfect people to cast for this, because both of them got incredibly expressive faces, so they can look at each other, and you as the audience, without having to hear any dialogue, without having to like see any like sign language, you as an audience member could say, okay, I understand what's going on now. Like there's one part, it's not really like a spoiler, so I'm just gonna tell you, it's not really a spoiler. But there is one part like after Eric and Sam first meet where she's essentially trying to get rid of him because she doesn't want him following her. And so she's like walking, and he's like following behind her like a little lost puppy dog. And when she turns around, she's just kind of giving him that look, and like I'm just like, yeah, she's essentially just telling him like go. And then eventually she does gesture like go, go, because he's just looking at her like, what, like why you keep stopping and looking at me? Like I'm with you now, like I follow you wherever you go, I go. Like that's the way it is, because I don't want to die. So like that part was like cool, because I'm like, yeah, even in that moment, like the second she stopped and she like turned and looked at him like, what are you doing? I kind of like was like, yeah, she's telling him like to screw off, basically. Or sorry, in British terms, she's telling him to piss off. She's telling him to piss off, and he's just like continuing to follow her like, nah, that's cool, like, nah, it's cool, actually, I'm gonna stick with you, like, because this is scary. And I don't want to deal with it. And also same again, I relate to Eric on a spiritual level on that, because I'm gonna find somebody and I'm not leaving their side until one of us is dead. That's basically the way it is. That's just how it is. Now, one thing I loved about the first movie, when I saw the first Quiet Place movie, was that the moments of like terror, like I think we can all say that the childbirth scene in that movie, as wild as it is and almost like unrealistic as it is, the childbirth scene in that movie is one of the most tense scenes in modern horror. I don't care what anybody says, because the idea of going into labor and having to give birth while this creature that depends on sound to find you is in your house. Like That I remember like I was on the edge of my seat watching that scene in the theater the first time I saw it. I was on the edge of my seat. Everything from the nail going into her foot all the way up to the moment when she finally gave birth in the bathtub. Like it's like such a great moments of tension, and there's a lot of that in the original one, but in this one there were quite a few moments that definitely felt that way. I'm not going to talk about them here. I'll talk about some of them in the spoilery section, because I feel like they're a little bit more story oriented. But yeah, the I'll just say this right now, the subway scene, oh boy. Not only first of all, not only did I want to smack Eric and be like, "Stop," but also no, just no, no to all of that. I'll talk about it in the spoilery section, but just no, just no. Like that's all I gotta say. Um, the ending was devastating of this movie. I'll just tell you that much. And I'm sure you guys can already figure out what the ending of this movie is, but there's more detail to it. So I'm going to talk about that more in the spoilery section of this video, because I'm going to just basically tell you the last shot of the movie and like what happens. Um, sorry if like I said, skip over that section when I get to it. But the ending was devastating. I did almost cry, and I was like, that is kind of messed up that you put this at the end of the movie. Like it's kind of messed up you put this at the end of the movie because now I got to get up and walk past people while I'm trying to like stop myself from crying. So, and then of course, you can't really talk about this movie without talking about Frodo. Oh, Frodo. Frodo is so cute. Frodo is so cute. I will say that right now. Frodo is so cute. And also, I'm going to spoil this much for you guys because I know some people really care about this. Frodo does not die. Just letting you know that because I know some people really care and that's a lot of the reason why people are avoiding this movie because they're scared to see the animal die. Frodo doesn't die. Just letting you know. Okay? That's the only spoiler I'll give you. Frodo lives. But the cat is very cute. Frodo's very cute. Um very cat-like, very cat-like. Um, very cat-like. Yeah, so that's the good things about this movie. So what didn't I like about this movie? Let's see. Let's see what's on my list. Okay, so I will say this. Towards the end of the movie, as much as I love the character development between Eric and Sam and how they're building sort of that kinship, I was getting bored. I was getting bored. I was kind of like, where are the aliens in all of this? Where are the Death Angels? Why is there so much like just like cutesy stuff happening? Um I get it. I understand why it needed to exist. It does make the ending like of the movie a lot more impactful, but I feel like they could have cut the scene down maybe or at the very least they like I don't know, I'm being nitpicky because I'm trying to find things I didn't like about this movie. Like I literally like wrote that down, like I'm trying to find things I don't like about this movie. um yeah, I just genuinely like that was kind of a part that slowed it down for me. It is a very important part though, so I understand why it exists. But it did kind of slow it down a little bit for me too much because it was like we were on this like high octane and like all this like intense action and then there's just like okay, we're getting towards the end and now we're going to just like cool it on out. It's going to be this nice wonderful thing. Um and that just kind of like took me out of the movie a little bit cuz I was just like, all right, let's go. I'm glad that we're doing all of this like development and this bonding, but we've already had like a lot of bonding between these two characters. We could have like cut out several of those other scenes to just get to this scene. But I mean, again, I'm nitpicking. Everything had purpose at the end of the day. Everything really did have purpose. So like I said, I'm nitpicking because I really am trying to find stuff that I don't like about this movie. Um, the cat, in my opinion, got annoying at some parts. Um, he's still cute, so I forgive him, but he did get annoying at some parts. There's one part in particular I'll talk in the spoiler section that I was just like, "Bro, this cat, I am going to fist fight this cat." Not really. I would never fist fight a cat. Just in my brain, I'm like shakes fist because it just it's a cat. Look at it this way: if you've ever owned a cat or been around a cat, like I have, it's a cat being a cat pretty much. I will say this much. What I'm going to talk about in the spoilery section, my cat would do to me. My cat would do it to me and put me in that situation. And I wouldn't know how to react. Let's be real. I wouldn't know how to react to that. But yeah, this cat was a little annoying, but I do forgive Frodo for being annoying because, oh, he's cute. He's very cute. He's very fluffy. I got very excited when I saw him on the screen. I was like, "Oh, kitty," like I love cats. So, but yeah, that's really it. I mean, the only other thing, and it's not really a bad thing about this movie, is it just kind of made me dislike the second movie even more. I know a lot of people like The Quiet Place Part 2, but this is the part where I'm gonna rant a little bit about that movie. It was completely useless to me, in my opinion. It was already useless to me. This movie makes it even more useless. It's filler. It's filler, and I remember reading somewhere that they were planning on making another one with that family, continuing like the Emily Blunt, John Krasinski story. They were planning on making a third one, and if that's the case, and it kind of just ties a bow on everything, then great. I just kind of felt like the way the movie ended, it was like, oh yeah, we did this, and then like the aliens show up and it's like, "Oh, come on, man." Like we are is there an end game to this or are we just going to keep like churning these out like butter? I don't know what the reasoning for the deviation away from that story is. Not that I'm complaining because this movie was great, but I feel like they deviated from that story and like for why though? Because you left that on such a massive cliffhanger. Like close it out. Like you want to do this like this prequel and I guess another thing I can say is like why like kind of like why like I like the movie, the movie's great, no complaints, but like these characters don't appear in any of the other movies, they're not mentioned. I think one of them does, but even still like he's barely in this movie. He's in this movie for like a few minutes, so it's like again, are we why are we showing this? Like this is like a side quest to the main story in my opinion. And to me it's like again, this was a fantastic movie. If this was the second Quiet Place movie they released and they were doing like an anthology, I would have liked that. Like if the second movie didn't exist, we had the first movie with the family on the farm, we'd had this movie with the boy and the girl and the cat, and then maybe a third movie with a completely different story, and it was like an anthology of three different stories, and maybe at the end in a way they all came together. That would probably have done a lot better than like here's two stories about this family and oh now we're going to deviate over here to this story that has nothing to do with that story but it's still the same because it's in the same universe. Like that's the only thing, my only complaint, and it's not even about this movie because this movie was good. And to me, it's like it just makes the second movie null and void to me. Like it's like you could just take that movie and just push it away and then just have the first movie, which is fantastic, and this movie that's just fantastic. And then like if you want to do more, like you can keep this trend up of telling different stories within the same universe as long as they're compelling enough. Like this one was. This was definitely compelling. So I guess that's not really a bad thing about this movie. It's just sort of a bad thing overall. Like it's a weird decision to like pivot to, a different story with different characters in a different location that have nothing to do with the main story. So I don't know, like that's just me being me. Again, it's nothing, no disrespect to the people who worked on this movie, because like I said, I really liked this movie. I loved this movie. It's not a disrespect to the people who worked on Quiet Place Part 2. It's not one of my favorite movies. I wasn't crazy about it, but I feel like that one, they just didn't necessarily need to make that one because if they were, again, we'll see. I've heard that they're going to complete the trilogy of these, or not the trilogy. They're gonna do another one, a based off this family. If that happens, great, wonderful. That is what I would like to see happen because I need some sort of closure for that story because I feel like the way they ended the second one was more of a cliffhanger than the first one. Like people were begging for more after the ending of the first Quiet Place, and I'm like, why? Like in my opinion, that movie ended perfectly. Like with them figuring out how how to defeat the aliens, figuring out what they can do to render them defenseless so that they can attack them, and her cocking the shotgun and like that sort of like badass like final girl, even though she wasn't really the final girl, her kids were there, but like the badass final girl moment, like that was perfect. We didn't need to keep going. Like literally they could have left that story with that scene being the last scene and then just did day one, and we could have just skipped to Sam and Eric and like been like, oh, who are these characters, and learned about them. The second movie was like, okay, we learned all this stuff, but we're not even able to use it. Like we're still helpless. We still can't do anything. We're still basically we're still basically shit out of luck. Like, that's the way the second movie felt to me, was we're still basically shit out of luck. There was no progression of the story. It basically just showed you how the invasion started for the family, and then it showed you like more stuff, but there was no resolution. So I'm really hoping that if they do a third one for those two movies, like let's take Day One out of the mix. Day One has nothing to do with that one. They do like a third one for those two movies. I'm really hoping it just kind of ties a knot and like send it off, like just like let's end that trilogy. No disrespect again, because like I said, I loved the first one. The first one was fantastic. Just the second one felt like it undid a lot of the progress that the first one did. And then this one comes along and it's fantastic too, but then it has no connectivity to the other series aside from the alien invasion and one character that I believe is in the second one. I don't know. I don't know if like my friend said that he was, but I don't remember because that's how immemorable that movie was for me. So I'm not entirely sure. I could be wrong. But yeah, there's no connectivity for those two movies, and it just feels like it could have been an anthology where we told different stories within the same universe, and maybe in the end all of those stories come together and we have this big battle against the Death Angels and Earth prevails or something, or gets destroyed. You never know. We can have a nihilistic ending. So those are my good and bad thoughts about A Quiet Place Day One, which my last one wasn't really about A Quiet Place Day One. It was more about the franchise in the whole, but that's just semantics. Let's just we're not gonna worry about that too much. So this next section is going to be spoilers because I'm going to talk about certain parts of the movie that I like want to talk about, that I just like I need to speak about. So if you don't want any spoilers for A Quiet Place Day One, I will timestamp. I'll put the timestamp up here. You can look at it. It'll also be like timestamped the video, and you can just skip to the next section. You can always come back after you've watched Quiet Place Day One, which again, like I said, I recommend you do that. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to get on out of here, and then I'm going to start talking about some spoilers. Okay, so now that everybody else is gone who doesn't want to be spoiled about this movie, I want to talk about a few things about this movie that I really, really, really like loved, or like frustrated me a little bit. Not really, like I'm not really going to go into too crazy of detail because I also don't want to completely spoil the movie, but I am going to talk about the ending of the movie, so I guess that completely spoils it. um so first of all, I do want to say, just like off the cuff, the subway scene, I'm going to talk about it because I think the subway scene was one of the scenes that freaked me out the most. So in this scene, Sam and Eric approach the subway. It's flooded. And they are trying to basically the whole point of the movie. Let me just break it down. Sam was taken to the city by the people that run her cancer ward, and like she was there with a group to see a show, and the plan was she was supposed to get pizza at this pizza place that she loved. Well, the alien invasion happens, Death Angels come out, rah, 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 everybody's getting eaten and scary, and she after the invasion starts decides, well, I have cancer and I'm probably going to die anyways, so you know what, I'm going to go find some pizza. So while everybody's trying to escape from New York, she's like, I'm gonna go find this pizza place. I'm going to this pizza place. I'm getting pizza. Like, I don't care about anything else. And then that's when she eventually meets Eric. Well, Frodo finds Eric and leads him to her. And she's like, well, you need to leave. You need to get out of the city because you'll die if you stick with me. This is where you go to get out of the city. I'm going to get pizza. And he's like, all right, let's go get pizza. This man is the most, I will say this man is the most down bad man in the entire freaking movie. I was like, as a black female, I love to see it. I love to see it because from like he's just like, I'm gonna follow her wherever she goes. I don't even care. I don't even care. Oh, she's going to get pizza in the middle of the apocalypse. All right, we're getting pizza in the middle of the apocalypse. Like, I love that. I love that he was so down bad. He's just like, wherever you go, I'm going. Oh, you're going there? Okay, I'm going there. Even at one point after like she leaves him in her apartment to continue her search, he he finds her. It's just like, it's so funny because she's like sitting there with her cat, and then Frodo looks up and starts like doing that thing, and I was automatically like, oh no, one of the aliens. And then the camera like turns around, I'm like, it's this guy again. Obviously, I knew he was gonna come back because, like, he had to because it was part of, like, obviously we had to get, they're together more in the there was more stuff in the trailer, but I could not stop laughing to myself about that because 'cause I'm just like, this man is like he is like, "I am going where you go." And also, like, kudos to Joseph Quinn for breaking my heart a second time in something, because when he said the line, like, "I don't wanna be alone, I'm scared to die," like, "I'm scared to be alone, I don't wanna die," in the movie, oh my god. Like, that broke my heart, like, somebody just, like, I don't know, somebody collect this man, because that broke my heart, I was like, "Damn, this man be making me cry every time he shows up and stuff, like, I'm tired of it." Like, I am tired of him. Stop making me cry because I'm getting teary-eyed right now. Like, why did you say that? Like, I get it, valid. I'd feel the same way. I would be like, yeah, I don't want to be alone. I don't want to die. Like, thanks. I will follow you wherever you go because I don't want to die. I'd follow her too. Cause, again, like there was a crowd of people hurting themselves to the water and then like one person made a sound and that crowd was ripped through. I don't know where to go now, you know? So like yeah, I had to point out that too. Most down bad man. Like most down bad man award goes to Eric in this movie cuz my god. Like okay, anyways. But yeah, so she's trying to get pizza the entire time. Like that is her whole beat. That's what she's looking for, and it's really just because she knows she's going to die. At the end of the day, either one of two things is going to kill her. It's either going to be the Death Angels or cancer. We're all hoping it's cancer. So then the subway scene, like I said, they're trying to, get through to find this pizza place that she's looking for. It's a specific pizza place and the subway's flooded, so they decide to go in the water, and as they're going in the water's getting deeper, they're walking through it, they look up and in like a crevice is one of the Death Angels, which is like yikes. Okay, and they got to go underneath this, but remember, if you've seen A Quiet Place, the Death Angels don't like water. They can't go in water. I don't know if they're like the aliens from Signs, like evolved. They just didn't evolve to not to be able to go into water. But yeah, they can't go in water. Like simple as that. They just can't do it. So they're going through, and this is when I said I wanted to slap Eric, because as while it's valid that he had this reaction, it's also like, dude, shut the hell up. I am going to smack you. So as they're swimming underneath this thing, this man starts having a full blown panic attack. And I'm like, I know you're not having I literally stand there like, he's not having a panic attack right now. He's not having a panic attack right. He's having a panic attack. Okay, this man is not breathing right now. He is like hyperventilating. And she's calming him down. Sam's trying to calm him down. She's like, like patting his face, trying to calm him down. And then he just lets out a sigh, and the Death Angel just goes nuts. Like, just goes nuts. And we have to watch in abject horror as these three, because Frodo's there too, the cat, just dive underwater to avoid the Death Angel that is getting closer and closer to them, like following them as they get into deeper water. And all I kept thinking of was, oh my god, that poor cat. Oh my god, that poor cat. It is fully submerged under the water. I don't even know if the thing can hold its breath. Luckily, he survived. That's the most indestructible cat. Frodo is the most indestructible cat, almost as indestructible as like I don't know. What other fictional casts are indestructible? Sound off in the comments if you're watching this. I mean, like, oh, that's all I kept thinking of was, man, I was like, if Eric gets this cat killed, because he could not hold it together, I'm like, he's dead to me. He's dead to me. But no, I mean, I get it. It's a valid reaction. I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing. Let's be real. I can't say I wouldn't do the same thing because I have panic attacks just like making a phone call. So I probably would do the same thing. But yeah, so that was like an incredibly tense scene. And then there was one other scene that I wanted to talk about because I thought it was hilarious. And not hilarious intentionally. I thought it was hilarious because all I kept thinking of is this is something my cat would do. This is something my cat would do. So after this debacle in the subway, right? This absolute like shit show in the subway, um, Sam is very visibly starting to die. She has not had her medication in probably 24 hours. She's already frail, and I'm sure all of this stress is making her flare up and like just not doing too well. So she, basically tells Eric, like, like Eric is like, what kind of medicine do you need? She tells him what he what she tells him what she needs, and he goes on a pharmacy run. And of course, Frodo goes with him because, you got to get the guard cat to go with you. Not a good guard cat, let's just say that much. So, Eric goes, he gets the medication, and as they're leaving, Frodo decides to go into this building that is kind of on fire. It's kind of in ruin. Why? Okay, let's explore why Frodo is doing this. Frodo is doing this because there's these weird egg things. I still don't know what they are. I don't know if this is like where the Death Angels are born from. I don't know if they're seeds. I don't know what they are. Because at one point, one of them breaks open and the Death Angels are just eating out of it. And I just don't know what it is. But Frodo goes in there to lick that. And obviously, because he's such a good person with such a good heart, Eric follows Frodo in there. So Eric follows Frodo into this burning building with these weird egg things. And what does Frodo do? Do you think Frodo turns around and leaves and is like, oh, my bad, let me leave? No, this is what Frodo does to this poor man that just had a panic attack in the subway having to swim underneath these creatures that can't even touch water. This is what this cat did. And this is what I say when I say this cat annoys the crap out of me in this part. Because he's trying to get the cat. He's trying to collect the cat because he knows how much that cat means to Sam. And this cat goes up on top of a beam, on top of a steel beam, where he can't reach him. So what does Eric have to do? He has to climb up the steel beam to grab the cat. And of course, he makes noise. And honestly, this was one of my favorite shots in the whole movie because it genuinely made me jump, because I figured he was going to make noise, and I figured when he made noise, the Death Angel was going to be like, yo, what is that? Freak out. But I was not expecting it to be as close as it was to him. So he's clinging to the steel beam for his dear life. He makes a noise. You hear like a creaking noise, and this thing is right next to him. And I was like, holy crap. I jumped out of my skin. I was like, whoa. This man had a panic attack in the subway having to swim underneath these things, and this cat is like, you know what, I'm gonna go to the tallest part of the tower. Have fun getting me, Eric. Have fun getting me down. As I said, Frodo lives, so Eric does retrieve Frodo and survives himself, because that could have gone horribly wrong, especially with how close that Death Angel was to him. I mean, it was literally right by his face. I'm like, oh, absolutely not. Oh, absolutely not. I was like, no, get that man down right now. Get the cat and that man down from that steel beam right now. Just do it, please. But he does. He gets the cat down. He goes back to Sam with the drugs. And like I said, that's something my cat would do. My cat would climb to the highest thing she could find, and I would be like, yo, can you, like, I'd be trying to get her down, and I would have to go get her. And that would probably happen to me. That whole sequence would probably happen to me. Like, I'm not even being facetious, just because I know how my cat is. My cat would go up to the tallest beam she could. I would have to climb up that beam, and then I'd get up there and I'd make some sort of noise, and then that thing would be right in my face. So that whole entire sequence would be me in that situation. And I'm just like, no, my cat, I'm gonna put her in a bag and carry her that way. To put her in a bag. Actually, I can't do that because she meows when she gets in her carrier. She meows, so I would just have to lay my life down at that point. I just have to be like, all right, nice knowing you guys. The Death Angels are coming for me. But yeah, that was it was unintentionally a funny scene, but it was mostly just funny because I'm like, yeah, I can relate. My cat would absolutely, not even I can relate. I was just kind of like, yeah, my cat would do that. She's a climber. She goes on top of my cabinets, every day. So she's a climber. She would be up there. But yeah, that was a great scene. There is they do eventually make it to the pizza place. Obviously it's destroyed, and that really messes up Sam's like spirit basically. Um the pizza place was very important to her because her dad used to play piano right in a bar nearby the pizza place, and after they were done he would take her to get pizza, and he passed away like a few years before. And so that meant a lot to her to do that, and, we get a very adorable sequence after that of Eric basically finding some pizza, which I don't know how good that pizza was, like, I mean, like, the quality, like, was it, like, the building he found it in wasn't destroyed, so, I mean, hopefully the cheese was at least still, like, good, like, I mean, I'm sure it wasn't, like, being refrigerated or anything like that, but hopefully at least the cheese was still good. This is the things I worry about in movies, goodness gracious, I should not go see movies ever again in my life, but he brings her a pizza, he puts on a little magic show with her, and it's very adorable. This was the part that the people were laughing in the movie theater, and I'm like, "Why? It's not that funny." Like, it's not that funny. Actually, it's kinda sad because you knew what was coming next. Eventually, we get this very touching moment where basically the two of them realize that they have to part ways because Sam's not going to make it. And Eric's got to make it. So they switch jackets, which was a clear sign that they are in love with each other. If you ask the shippers online, it's a clear sign that they're in love with each other. They do. Although I will say, the way Eric looks at her when they're switching jackets, I will say, I mean, I said this man is the most down bad character in the history of horror movies. I might be right because the way he looks at her at that scene, down horrendous. That's all I can say is down horrendous. This man was just like, I thought he was going in for a kiss. I was like, oh, they're about to kiss. Oh no, okay, they're not gonna get. They're 100% about to kiss right now. And I was like, oh, they're not. Okay, he wanted to. He wanted to. I could see it. I could see it in his eyes. I could see. I read those eyes, and it said, yes, I would like to kiss you right now. And I was like, okay, pop off, king. But yeah, no, that was that was like the way the shippers are talking about it, like, oh yeah, like they switched jackets so they were in love. I don't read it that way personally because A, they had just met like less than 24 hours prior to that, and B, they like also are in a very dire and scary situation that I don't like the trope, and I'm kind of glad they didn't lean into this. And it's just like something that's always bothered me. I don't like the trope of people falling in love during the apocalypse. I think there's a lot more important things to be worried about in the apocalypse other than who you're gonna sleep with. So I kind of am glad that they didn't go that route. Like, I'm kind of glad like they didn't kiss or anything like that. It was very much like you could read it as, yes, it was romantic, but I kind of read it as like this man gave her like a really like memorable time in this really awful situation. He did this incredibly nice thing for her, and maybe he felt some type of way, but I don't even think that. I think he kind of felt like, you saved my life, like you genuinely saved my life. So I don't read stuff like that romantically, and it's just, I just, because that's a trope I hate. Like, I hated that in The Walking Dead. I just hate it in any apocalyptic movie. Like, if they're not already married, stop making people fall in love in the apocalypse, because I'm sorry, I understand human nature, love is part of the story, but like, I'm not thinking about romance in that situation. Sure, you might feel very familial and like, you might feel that camaraderie and that closeness, and it might become a loving relationship, but like, I still think that even like would build over time. Like, you still have to make sure you trust each other and stuff like that. So I'm just, like I said, I'm kind of glad they didn't lean into it. I mean, I wouldn't have complained if they did, but I'm kind of glad they didn't lean into it that way because I was 100% expecting that. And I was like, okay, they didn't go that route. We end up finding out that the jacket that she gave to him was actually her father's jacket, which was another moment where I started tearing up because I was like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. And then they get towards the dock, the boat is getting ready to leave, and there's the Death Angels lined up at the shoreline, and like basically there's no way they can get like Eric can get to the boat. So Sam's just kind of like, I'll buy you some time. Run, basically like go, so she gets up, she starts making as much noise as possible to like get the attention from the Death Angels away from Eric and Frodo because she gives him the cat, and he guns for it, and then of course trips over something because Eric. That's all I can say is Eric trips over something and makes a loud noise, so all the aliens are now like, hey, what the heck was that? And they just like go after him. But he makes it. He makes it to the boat. They stop the boat for him, and he gets on, and he survives. Which I'd really be interested in seeing what the hell his character is doing now through all of this. Like, where you at, bro? Like, you were not in the second movie, so where are you? Obviously, he wasn't in the second movie. But anyways, um, So, like, then he finds a letter from Sam to him in the pocket of the jacket, and basically she's thanking him for giving her, one last hurrah. She had been so bogged down by cancer and living in this horrible state for such a long time, and um now she had, like, a really nice time, and they cut to Sam walking around the city with her headphones in. She's got her old school iPod. It's pretty cool, and she's listening to music and she's walking around looking at New York City. And then they just do one last sweeping shot where they have a close up on her, and in the background right behind her you see a death angel drop down right behind her. And the implication is that the death angel takes her out. And I wasn't expecting that to hurt as much as it did. Obviously, you knew from the beginning there's only one or two ways this could end for her, which is she's either going to succumb to her cancer or she's going to get taken out by the aliens. But in my opinion, the lesser of two evils was succumbing to her cancer. I really hate to think what those aliens did to her. I mean, the only thing I can hope is that it was quick and painless. That's the only thing I can hope, is that it was quick and painless, because oh my god, this poor woman, like, like, I loved her character. Her character was so, like, well written, and just, like, such a sad character just from the get-go, and just to know that, like, that was it. Like, that was it. That last, like I said, that last shot was just so gut-wrenching, and it is a beautiful shot just of her standing there in the middle of the city, and it's just like, kind of not a full close-up, but a kind of a close-up shot, and then you just see the death angel drop down behind her and, like, kinda raise up. I'm like, "Oh, man." It is one of those moments where it's like, "I'm gonna start crying, I'm gonna start crying," and the movie just finished, the credits are rolling and the lights are on, and I'm like, "I don't want people to see me crying." Um, Very beautiful, very poignant ending, very sad, very heartbreaking, and, that is the gist of that movie, but it is so good, so, so good. I was really impressed with how the movie went, because I did not know what to expect. So let's wrap this thing up, shall we? Let's get to the last little hurrah. All right. So, my final thoughts on this movie. Like I said, I had high hopes from this movie from the beginning because of the cast mainly. Um, I love Lupita. She's amazing. There's not one thing she's been in that she has disappointed me in yet. Everything she does, like, in my opinion, everything she touches turns to gold. She can do no wrong with her movie roles, and this one was no different. I also said, like I said before, I also think Joseph Quinn was incredibly well cast, because he has a very expressive face, and it worked really well for this. It's not to say he's not good at anything else, but he has a very expressive face, and it worked really well for this type of movie. He was very endearing. He brought a certain charm to the character, and I really, like, appreciated that and enjoyed watching their dynamic, the two of them play off each other. They play off each other really well, and that's really cool. Like, I really, I really appreciate that, because um even in interviews, like, you can tell that they had a good time working together. And that's super important. Like, you could see that chemistry is there, and it definitely reflected on the screen and made the plight that these two characters went through together a lot more believable. Was definitely well written, intense. Was not expecting it to be as sad as it was, just because up until, like, I read that interview, I didn't know that there was a cancer storyline. Um, so I wasn't expecting it to be an incredibly sad story as well. But overall, this is my second favorite 2024 horror release that I've seen. I was actually listing them out earlier, and I haven't done movies videos for the other three movies that I've watched this year, that came out this year. I just haven't. I haven't done them yet. I hadn't done them because I didn't want to talk about them. I didn't want to talk about anything I didn't like. But this is, like, right under the first Omen for me. Like, it's the second of, like, the two favorites so far. I'm sure it's going to be dethroned soon, because I still have to see Maxine, and I still have to see Longlegs, and I'm excited for Longlegs. I'm really excited for Longlegs. I've heard so much good stuff, and I'm just like, I'm ready to go. Let's do it. Sorry, I just heard something outside of my room. But yeah, like, I think this is probably one of my second favorite. All in all, I give this one 4 out of 5 stars. I genuinely really enjoyed this movie. I was shocked that I liked it as much as I did because I did not know I had high hopes, but I didn't know what to expect. And, you know, you had just everything was lined up perfectly. It became like a really, really good movie. So, solid film, highly recommend it. If you haven't seen it yet, go see it. Kind of one I would say go see it in theaters, but if you can't make it, I'm sure it'll be available for purchase soon or renting soon, so you could always do that as well. And with that, I am going to wrap this baby up, tie it up with a little bow, and send it out. Yeah, this was fun. Like I said, completely got derailed from my plans because I went to go see this movie on an impulse because my best friend loves A Quiet Place. It's one of her favorite series, and she was like, "We need to go see this movie." And she was in town, so we went to go see it. Loved the movie, thought it was great. Definitely looking forward to the haunted house. I will let you guys know how that goes when I get to go through that. I'm thinking it's going to be sick. It's going to be super awesome. And yeah, I have a lot more stuff planned. The next week, I hopefully will have another maybe movie review for like a newer movie review. And then also, I will be working on my classic series and then some more Halloween Horror Nights content. I have a feeling that we are going to get our last two announcements soon. I have a feeling. And because we are like so close. We're so close. We're almost a month out to Halloween Horror Nights, guys. This is so exciting. Cannot wait. I'm buzzing right now. But in any case, if you like this video, please leave a like on it. If you want to see more content like this, definitely check it out. Check me out, subscribe, just keep an eye on my channel because like I will be making a lot more movies like this, a lot more movie reviews, and a lot more theme park content. And with that, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight or today or whenever you're joining me. And I will see you guys next time in another creepy critique.